The happiest day of my daughter's life was supposed to be the day she got married. The church was full of smiling faces, cameras flashing, and soft music echoing through the room. Everyone believed they were witnessing the beginning of a beautiful future. But no one noticed the small piece of paper my daughter slipped into my pocket while we were walking down the aisle. No one saw her trembling hands. No one saw the fear hidden behind her smile. And when I finally unfolded that note later that evening, my heart nearly stopped. Because written in my daughter's handwriting were 5 words that changed everything. 5 words that made me realize the wedding everyone was celebrating might actually be the moment my daughter needed to be saved. But by the time I understood what those words meant, it was almost too late. Welcome to my YouTube channel Whisper Stories, where silence speaks. My name is Jackson, and I am 67 years old. At 67, a man believes he has finally seen everything life has to offer. You believe you understand joy. You believe you understand heartbreak. You believe you understand the strange way time slowly reshapes the people you love. After all, by this age you have attended enough weddings, funerals, birthdays, and quiet Sunday dinners to think that life no longer has any surprises left for you. But you would be wrong. Because sometimes the most important moment of your life arrives disguised as something small, something quiet, something that could easily be missed. Like a folded piece of paper slipped into your pocket during your daughter's wedding. The church was full that afternoon. White roses lined the aisle, their soft fragrance floating through the warm summer air. Sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, painting gentle colors across the wooden pews. Everyone looked happy. Friends were laughing softly. Relatives were whispering about how beautiful the bride looked. Music from the piano drifted through the room like a peaceful river. And there she was. My daughter, Emily. She stood at the end of the aisle in a white dress that shimmered in the light, holding a small bouquet of lilies, her mother's favorite flowers. For a moment, I couldn't move. Because when you're a father, no matter how old you are, you never truly stop seeing your daughter as the little girl who once held your finger while learning how to walk. I remembered the first time she called me Dad. I remembered the nights she fell asleep on my chest while I read bedtime stories. I remembered her scraped knees, her school recitals, her first broken heart when she was 16. And now, she was about to walk away into a new life. The music changed. Someone gently nudged my shoulder. Jackson, my sister whispered, "It's time." I nodded and walked toward Emily. She smiled when she saw me, but something about that smile felt fragile. I didn't understand it at the time. I simply offered my arm. She slipped her hand through it, and together we began walking down the aisle. Everyone stood. Cameras flashed. Somewhere in the room, someone sniffled quietly. But as we walked, Emily leaned closer to me. And very quickly, so quickly no one else noticed, she slipped something into my jacket pocket. Her fingers trembled. "Dad," she whispered softly, "please don't read it yet." My heart skipped. But before I could ask anything, we had already reached the altar. The ceremony continued like any other wedding. The officiant spoke about love, about commitment, about building a life together. Emily stood beside her fiancé, Daniel, holding his hands. Daniel looked calm, confident, even charming. He came from a good family. Successful career. Polite manners. Everyone had said Emily was lucky to have found him. Even I had believed it. But something inside me now felt uneasy. Because a father knows his child in ways no one else ever can. And I could see it in Emily's eyes. A shadow. A silent cry. Still, the ceremony went on. Vows were exchanged. Rings were placed. Applause filled the church when the officiant finally declared them husband and wife. Everyone cheered as they kissed. But my hand slowly moved to my pocket. The small folded note felt heavy, heavier than paper should feel. I waited until the reception began before stepping outside. The evening air was cool, and the sky was turning orange as the sun sank low on the horizon. My hands trembled slightly as I unfolded the paper. It contained only 5 words. 5 simple words written in my daughter's handwriting. "Dad, please help me." My chest tightened. The world seemed to fall silent. At 67, you believe you understand fear. But the fear of realizing your child may be in danger, that is something else entirely. I read the note again. And again. My mind raced. Why would Emily write this? Why now? Why during her own wedding? I thought about the last few months. The way she sometimes sounded tired on the phone. The way she stopped laughing as much. The way Daniel occasionally answered questions for her before she could speak. Small things. Things I had ignored. Things I now regretted ignoring. I folded the note slowly and slipped it back into my pocket. Then I walked back inside. The reception hall was filled with music and laughter. Glasses clinked. Guests danced. Emily and Daniel sat at the main table, smiling for photographs. But now that I was looking more closely, I noticed something. Daniel's hand rested tightly on Emily's arm. Too tightly. Each time someone spoke to her, she glanced briefly at him first, almost as if waiting for permission. My stomach turned. I approached the table. "Emily," I said gently. She looked up. For a split second, her eyes filled with relief. "Dad," she whispered. I leaned closer. "You wrote the note." She gave the smallest nod. Daniel looked at me. "Everything all right, Jackson?" he asked with a polite smile. I forced one of my own. "Just wanted a dance with my daughter." Daniel hesitated. Then he released her arm. "Of course." We walked onto the dance floor as the band began playing a slow song. Emily's hands were cold. "Sweetheart," I said quietly, "tell me what's going on." Her lips trembled. "Dad, I made a mistake." Those words pierced my heart. What kind of mistake? Her eyes filled with tears. "He's not the man everyone thinks he is." The music continued around us. Couples swayed. People laughed. But in that moment, the entire room felt distant. "What do you mean?" I asked softly. She took a shaky breath. "Daniel controls everything, my phone, my money, who I see." My jaw tightened. "Has he hurt you?" She hesitated. Then she whispered, "Yes." The words hit me like a hammer. Anger surged through my chest. But anger alone would not help my daughter. I had to think clearly. "Emily," I said gently, "why didn't you tell me sooner?" Her tears finally spilled over. I was ashamed and scared, and every time I tried to leave, he convinced me things would get better. I closed my eyes for a moment. At 67, you realize something important. Strength is not about shouting. Strength is about standing calmly when everything inside you wants to explode. "Listen to me," I said. "You are not alone." Her grip tightened around my hands. "What do we do?" I looked across the room. Daniel was watching us. His smile was gone. "First," I said quietly, "we get you somewhere safe." Emily nodded. "But the wedding?" "Forget the wedding." "But everyone. Nothing matters more than your safety." For a moment, she looked like that same little girl again. The one who used to run to me after a nightmare. "Okay," she whispered. I guided her quietly toward the exit. My sister noticed. "Jackson, where are you going?" "Emily isn't feeling well," I said calmly. Concern spread across the room. But before anyone could question further, Daniel approached us. "Is something wrong?" Emily froze. I stepped forward slightly. She needs fresh air. Daniel looked at her. Emily. Her voice trembled. I need a moment. He studied her carefully. Then he turned to me. I'll come with you. No, I said firmly. His eyes narrowed slightly. For a long moment, tension filled the air. Then Emily spoke. I want to go with Dad. Daniel forced another smile. Of course. But I saw the anger burning behind his eyes. We left the building. The night air wrapped around us like a deep breath after being underwater. Emily began crying again. I hugged her tightly. It's going to be all right. But Dad, I feel like I ruined everything. I shook my head. No, you didn't ruin anything. You saved yourself. Later that night, Emily came home with me. We contacted a lawyer. We contacted the police. And slowly, carefully, we began untangling the situation. It wasn't easy. Nothing about it was easy. But Emily was safe. And that was all that mattered. Months passed. The wedding became a memory. Some guests were confused. Some were judgmental. But many people supported Emily once they learned the truth. She began rebuilding her life. Piece by piece. Step by step. And one evening, she sat beside me on the porch, watching the sunset. Dad, she said softly. Yes. Thank you for reading the note. I smiled gently. Sweetheart, even if you hadn't written it, I would still have listened. At 67, I have learned many things about life. But the most important lesson is this. Sometimes love is not about letting go. Sometimes love is about standing up. Standing up for the people you care about. Standing up when they are too afraid to stand alone. Because family is not just about celebration. It is about protection. It is about courage. And sometimes, it begins with 5 simple words written on a small piece of paper. Dad, please help me. Moral of the story. True love means paying attention, even to the quietest cries for help. And no matter how old we become, the bond between parent and child should always remain a safe place where courage can begin.